Witness testimony. The camera never lies. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journo's spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Read screens, you say? Right. You can see them clearly enough in the great shot I snapped. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens. Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust my lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it? Would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that is considered admirable in a journalist, I see. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's many mimosism in a nutshell, yep. At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No. Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the markings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published? Oh, that's right. Snap. Oh God. Yeah. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. Huh. More pathetic excuses. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's a robot in disguise. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. Yeah, the camera. Cross-examination. Camera never lies. Alright, so the beach hut was made of shoddily old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journo spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Right, let's go back to the beginning here. So the beach hut was made of shoddily old reed screens. Fine. So there were plenty of gaps I could see through inside. Fine. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Fine. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journo spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. The only thing that sort of like has a question around it is this, and like I'd want more details on this. So let's progress for now, see what the game tells me to do. He claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating. But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it? If that's how you feel, I suggest that you trust your instincts and press him on everything he's said. As you've no doubt seen, done many times before in your role as judicial assistant. Yeah, I suspected we were going this way. Yes, I have. I've seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do. Right, the beach-hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there was plenty of gaps I could see inside, though. Let's press on all of them. We'll go through, just try and get as much details as we can.
Hold it!
What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place? Call it journo instinct. Can you think of a better reason? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman. Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. Here's painting the journo as a voyeur. It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge. Touché. Nope, you got it all wrong, little student boy. Sorry? To my mind, all that was inside the hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender, man or woman, it's all news. That's not even memoism, it's basic journalism. Only the courtroom wasn't as indiscriminate. Indeed. Right, so if that's all buttoned up, can we move on? Tell the court then, witness, what sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut. A sight that vindicated my journo instinct, that's what. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all as clear as day. The English woman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Alright, press.
Hold it!
So you actually saw Membami-san entering the hut? Yep, and she was raging like my journo spirit. And the argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it. I didn't steal it. That kind of thing. Talking about the poison, I suppose. The student girl walked right up to the English woman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she'd lain into her any more, there would have been eggs. Alright. The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the student's rantings fell on deaf ears. Like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time. He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest. Anyway, the point is, that woman in the dock was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back.
Hold it!
Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place? Huh, the precise moment? I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out, from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Oh, that'll help. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. A lot of dots. Right you are. It's all here in my mini memo pad. Okay. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the English woman was on this stool at the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I've noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. And then the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. Died. And in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. What you describe is a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what memoism says. The beach hut plan has been entered into the court record. Okay. By the way, Memo-san, whilst you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy, rather than capture it on film? Journos have to be observers. We can't get involved when someone's dying. We can't get involved, that's our raison d'etre. So you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. And that's something to be proud of, is it? In some circumstances, yes. In these circumstances, hell no. Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor? I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony. Ooh. Father, what are you... I will grant the defense's request. Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement. Well, nihilism is the foundation of many memoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words are meaningless. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer. No. There's... no. I want to press this for a moment.
Hold it!
Really? You didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that? I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves were stretched to breaking point already. Oh, I see. You were scared. Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you, yes. It was all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap the shot. You really should have summoned help before thinking of your camera. Memoism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time in those instances, memoism comes out on top. As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art, yes. That's spot on. Surely he's making all this up. You'd hope. He claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating. But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it? If that's how you feel, I suggest that you trust your instincts and press him on everything he's said. No, I've got evidence at this point. As you've no doubt done many times before in your role as judicial assistant. Yes, I have. I've seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do. Alright, so boom, let's get to that last one. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer. Then explain to me, mate, how the bloody hell did your pen get in there?
Objection!
Memo-san, until now I have had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You're spot on there. The press doesn't lie. Which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Show You News on my arm. In a way, that's more memoism. Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who wrote for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth. What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, Counsel? Memo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen? Ah! This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you, If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. R.M. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Ray Mbami. Is it a coincidence, I wonder? That your initials are also R.M.? No. Written many memo. R.M. That's horse tongue. Can't you see? One of the central tenets of many memoism is being a pencil user. Explain the smudge on your hand. And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see, on your right hand, there is a very obvious blue ink stain. It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is. Horsey, horse tongue! Many memo-san. Is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut? Objection! Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Show You News will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. I doubt that. The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is. In that case, Counsel, the defense will show the court where this alleged clue lies. Of course, Your Excellency. It's on the bottom. The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner's identity is right there. There's some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yume University one. It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. But that would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray. Alright, present that then.
Got it!
As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will of course recognize. Many Memo-san. Goodness me! It's the emblem of the Show You News! In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Show You News, whose initials are RM. Suddenly the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Many Memo-san, how do you respond? No! Oh, rebel, yes, rebel. Order. Explain yourself, witness. He can't. So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets. I've used nothing but honest tactics. Alright then. Fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes. Not long before the grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Show You News reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the English woman. An interview? You never mentioned this before. When exactly was this? As I said, it was before the evil student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. but it came to nothing. And as we minimalists say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes. All right. But, on one condition. Condition? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsume-san. Soseki-san? Oh, yes. According to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own, and brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one. It's big. What? It's quite big. Look how big his arms are. Minimoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story. Very well, I will grant the witness's request in this instant. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand. Soseki-san, hiding something? Oh. Witness testimony! The witness's secrets. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witness come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this Ryan man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why Minimoism demands I reveal it now. Huh. You mean to say the victim regained consciousness? And when she did, you decided to ask her a question? That's, true? Yes? He did, and that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. Oh my, how many broken pencils does he have? This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack? It wasn't even a concerned conversation. Yes, I did pose the with an English rose a question. I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious, even. Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. Oh, you'll get it, mate. This court must and will know the truth. Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut? Indeed. Cross-examination! The witness's secrets. Right, so what we got? Let's pretty much press on everything we got here, I feel. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. I doubt you'd do that.
Hold it!
You asked her for an interview, you say? Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year. About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life. That's not the way I'd phrased it, but minimalism calls for straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson, is how I put it to her. Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler. Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that. And how did Miss Brett answer? With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Phew. That told me, so I waltzed right out of there. Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together. Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. A veteran of the paper taught me that. Did they know? And then watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running.
Hold it!
And that was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away. Persistence wins the prize. Any minimoists will tell you that. Let them think you've left, and just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop. And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence. Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness. And now that you've found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide. I'm sure. Please do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say. Try to stop me? There's a story to tell here, and I'm gonna tell it. Uh-huh. The detective realized the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help.
Hold it!
And so Seki-san remained behind in the hut. That's right. Yep. Our offer friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twitching, eyes bulging. What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that taunted me whilst travelling abroad. Back behind baleful bars. They'll be coming for me, surely. That's all I could think. I felt as though I was gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat. Poor Soseki-san. His experiences in London have scarred him deeply. As the world seemed to close in around me, I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please. And now, we come to the crucial part. That's when it happened. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question.
Hold it!
What question? What exactly did he say? Well now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Writer Man? Out with it, you yokel hack. What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying English woman? A lot of dots. That's what I said to her, sir. Well, in truth, I had been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see. Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose. Even for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from the little beach, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air. Ray. I ran up the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hasanaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan, a moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin. But what did you ask her, Soseki-san? I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond? She didn't. She said nothing in response. But... So many dots. When in the stand, you will answer the question asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony. So many dots. I will. Okay. I asked her who did this to you, but she never replied.
Hold it!
Find out more about that. So you tried to find out who the culprit was. He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who doesn't not remains a fool forever. And having been labelled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in person forever. However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct? I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache, because I'm Japanese. Oh dear. Soseki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems. Having read the report on his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia. But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Writer-man? Well, yes. Alright, she did respond in her manner of speaking, I suppose. Oh? She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed in the direction of the defendant.
Hold it!
Miss Brett pointed a finger at the defendant. Soseki-san, is that really true? So many dots. It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, with the student girl standing on the far side of her. When I asked who did this to you, the Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut, through the gap. Which was, it can't be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today. No. Soseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony? But fiddlesticks, I say. This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese, not this fiddlesticks nonsense. Yes, of course. The Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no. Not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. Somewhere at the back of the hut, where nobody was standing at all. You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear? Yes, that's it, unclear. It's very, very unclear.
Objection!
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Did you just pay attention to what was said, mate? Like, what's going on here? Yes, the woman may have barely been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly. But there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court can see, there was no other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one beside the accused could possibly have committed this crime. I am inclined to agree. And in the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial. No. No! The headline's writing itself. Dashing lawyer's hopes dashed. 92 point across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition. This is a serious blow, Suzuto. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over. But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet. The fountain pen. Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back on everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need. Ray gave us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Because she'd been stabbed in the back with the pen. She pulled the pen out from the back, before collapsing on the floor in front of me with a knife in her back. Stabbed both times. Maybe? How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all the information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question. I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add. So, the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. Can't say I'm surprised. In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter. This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim? Well, obviously, in the next part, we'll try with I Know How. So we shall see you then. Ta-da for now.